Hello, welcome to another installment of Discover Your Talent. My name is Robert Daly. Last time I introduced peg loom weaving. I actually had a loom here with me. I didn't bring it with me today, but I brought some of the products that I've made in the month since the last show aired. This right here is the piece that I was working on during the show, and I brought it home, and it took me probably another 3 hours to finish. There's various different things. This right here is what I did during the show. I left a mark right here, and the rest of it took another couple of hours. And I've got some other things here. I decided to be inventive, and when I got home, I set the loom up again, and I was able to come up with various different adaptations on the initial weaving. I did different colors. This is all about experimenting. That's what the great thing about it is. I experiment with different colors, and I don't see anything that I'm about to show you as finished or complete. I'm trying to perfect what I'm doing here. I've just started doing this over the past several months, and I'm trying to perfect this so it is well put together enough that I can put it on display somewhere. This is another one that I've done, and hang on. This is what it looks like. Now, you can see these end pieces are so long that we have to clip them. So I'm going to clip them, and I think that right about here would be a good point. Clipping slowly, exercising caution. And there's one. Now, here is the other side, and I'm going to match these up, straighten out the side I want to cut, and I'm going to cut it right here, and now you have the two different sides cut. One looks different than the other, but this is an educational process, so I keep it moving. This is another one that I've done recently, and I use various different colors. This one I just tied like in this fashion here as a different type of style. And this one is a longer version. It keeps going, and I've tied it off again in this fashion, and this is yet another one. Now, I said last month that I was going to put more pegs on the loom, and I did. So this is a bigger one right here, and it has different varieties of yarn. Right here, you can see where these pieces are joined together. You can see where they're joined together right here. And this is something I'm attempting to perfect at this time I want to learn a better knot tying system, and I'm searching to see if I can figure it out. I like to figure it out things for myself, and that makes it more of an interesting educational experience. For those of you that are in the Apostolic Pentecostal movement, you might understand the term hand praise. Well, this is a hand praise that I do, and I do it especially when I'm home by myself and I need to do something positive. And I will sit at this thing, as I said, sit at the Loom, as I said last week, and I'll do this sometimes for a half an hour, sometimes for 2 hours, and it occupies my mind. This is about regulating the mind, which is important. You know, this one here has a very long end piece. So I'm going to attempt to match them up and give them and cut them to length. Now, this comes out right to about here. Cutting. I'm making sure my hands are away from the scissors, and I'm cutting slowly as I go. The slower I cut, the cleaner the cut, and it reduces fraying. You don't want to put any. This stuff will create dust at some point when you work with it, and you have to be careful that you don't put too much into the air. Otherwise, you inhale this stuff, and at least in my case, it causes you to begin to sneeze up a storm. So, all right, let me see where this teaches you patience. There's always one strand left to clip. Okay, now this here, let me try something different here. Okay. These ends haven't been finished off yet. So I'm going to straighten everything out. Like this. And I'm going to start here. Okay. Now these will correspond. Each one of these will correspond to a peg if it was still on the loom. So I'm going to take this, and I'm going to do once, and then I'm going to do twice, give it a tiny tug, and then I'm going to go like this, and what I want to do is create a loop, and I want to bring the yarn through. Now, what I'm going to attempt to do, we've been learning patience here at the studio this morning, so I'm going to be patient with this, and I'm going to slowly try to make a somewhat of a decent looking end piece finished knot here. And I'm looking for the red one. There's two red pieces and red lines in here, and by doing that, I'm trying to get it to pull through, and then I'm going through. I'm going through each one of the other strands, trying to pull it through and get it to cinch up, to tighten up. There you go. That's what I'm looking for. And I had to be patient to do this. And I don't have the other one just yet. I don't have it just yet. Okay. But you got to search for these things. If you cannot exercise patience in this type of situation, you'll become frustrated. This is a hobby or a pursuit that's best done in a slow, thoughtful fashion. That way you begin to train your mind to have skills for other things. And sometimes you just have to hunt through all this stuff. Okay. This is one thing right. This one thing right here is giving me trouble. So what I'm gonna do is try to pull it back through and see. I'm gonna make it reveal itself on the other side. Now, I think I have it. No, that's not it. See, this isn't my studio, so I have to be equally as patient with myself. Isn't this something? Okay, here's one of them. See it moving? See how I've got it to pull back in? Now I'm looking for the second one. And I couldn't find it one way, so I kept trying. I kept trying different ways to get it to work. There it is. And you have to go slow, otherwise I pulled the knot apart instead of fixing it at times. Okay, now see what I've done? I found it. So I'm going to pull this. I'm going to pull this in, and now you have a pretty decent knot here. And then you would repeat this process all across. You would do every single one of these pieces right here. Now the interesting thing I used two different types of yarn here. And this is a softer, more pliable yarn, and this right here has a thicker consistency. I don't know the correct terms just yet, but this is stiff, and this is the kind of stuff that you would use for a blanket or for a scarf. I intend to keep working on this type of weave to get it to be better suited to what I'm trying to do, which is scarves right now. Now, let me put this over here. Okay. This is one that I've just completed. In fact, I completed it yesterday. Now this is a thicker consistency, and I try to stick with a red, black, and green theme. I did put some lighter shades of brown in here, but interesting thing is that they somehow all complement each other. Now, let me flip this around. Can you see this right here? This is, I'm going to look at it and I can see that it's one loop, but somehow it extended itself. So I learned a trick or two by watching YouTube. I'm going to sever it like this, and then I'm going to simply tie a knot here. One, and then two. And it's back, you can see it's back within the basic construction of the scarf. Like it was never there. Here's another one. Here's another one right here. You can see it. It's a loop type, and it's within the same stitch, within the same weave. So I'm gonna pull it out a little bit. I'm gonna sever it here slowly, and then I'm going to tie this up. Do it once, excuse me. And then I'm going to do it I'm going to do this twice. I'm going to pull it tight, and then carefully I'm going to snip it, and then I'm going to work the rest of it back in, and you can barely see it. Now, this, believe it or not, is a scarf I'm going to have to remake, because this right here is existing over three stitches. So what I'm going to have to do, I can't fix this. There's no way to do it. And what it's going to cause me to do is to take this whole thing apart and put it back together again. But again, that's the beauty of doing things as I do them, do it slowly. It teaches you patience and perseverance. I hated taking my stuff apart when I first started doing this, but then I started taking it apart and I got comfortable taking things apart. If I made it good the first time, I could make it even better the second time. I didn't get down on myself. I said, I can do this, and I've come farther and farther forward. As you've seen today, I brought in, I said I was going to use more pegs last time, and I made one with more pegs. And this is one. It's not as big as you, but this is another big one. Now, what last show, one of my fellow producers asked me, her name is Holly, she asked me, how do I get all these different colors? Well, these are skeins of yarn. And what I do, get a bucket like this, and I put I get 3 different buckets, but this is what I do, and then the yarn no longer competes with itself, so I can roll in a proficient fashion, and I can get it done. And I do it because they stay in one place. The bucket's never up this high; it's usually on the floor. But when I put it on the floor, I can get this stuff done. This is how I make the multicolored balls of yarn. And this in itself, it's repetitive motion. I can see a point where I'm going to figure out a way to create a roller, devise a roller in a DIY fashion, and see how well we can do. This slowly, patience again. This will slowly take shape, and it's there's how your different colors create, and you can take different skeins of yarn. You can put all this stuff in here. When you're done with that, you get something like this, and this is where this fits into the bucket I showed you very easily, and it doesn't go anywhere. It may be a lot of work, but After wondering where the ball of yarn on the floor went and finding it three rooms away, I would prefer to do this. So this is a 3-strand ball of yarn, and you can make any type of color combination you want. What I learned is that you have to. I mean, yes, you can make any color combination you want, but the best thing to do is to stick within the close family of the colors that you intend to use. That way you'll still have a vast variety of things, and it will be your artistry will find ways to explore because you're doing it within a confined space of colors, but you can also expand on those colors. As you understand your colors, you can begin to try new and different things. Now, when I first, we're just rolling along here. I couldn't resist. When I first started doing this, I had very small scarves, but the most interesting thing is that another thing I can do with this is to take all these scarves, and if I wanted to, I could make a blanket out of these. I've taken scarves like this apart. I think once, and when I first started doing this, I did it on something called stick weaving, and I advanced to the peg loom weaving. But before I made the transition, I found I had a mound of like 30 scarves. So what I did was I took them all apart, and I made a large wall hanging out of them. So the ability for creative expression is always there. So I enjoy taking it. I enjoy doing this, and I would hope that some of this has inspired you, and I would hope that you would, if you do consider doing this, that you might let us know how you did, and we'd like to see pictures of things that you've tried. We can put them. We can show pictures. We can show pictures of your work here. If it's a peg loom related, we can show pictures here. I don't know. I believe I've covered it all. That would be it. I want to thank you for tuning in today. I've enjoyed presenting this. I enjoy this in a general fashion. I enjoy being able to share it. I'd like to thank my producer, Jennifer Evans at West Harper Community TV. I'd like to thank Holly from last week for her question. And I think that this is a beautiful avenue of expression for folks like me. It helps me come forward, discover my strengths, and I appreciate the ability to sit here and share what I've discovered in some small way. I hope that your holidays are going well, and that the year to come is good for you. Hopefully, we'll see you again in February. Thank you.